911. What is the address for your emergency?
I found a dead body. Somebody threw a bag, like on the edge of the bridge.
Authorities believe they could very well have a serial killer. 3 bodies found already.
The case involving the murder of Shirellda Terry by serial killer Michael Madison is one of the most tragic examples of violent crime in Cleveland's history. Madison, responsible for the deaths of 3 women, left a lasting impact on the families involved, particularly Shirellda's father, Van Terry, whose emotional outburst in court captured national attention. Shirellda Terry was a bright, kind-hearted 17-year-old girl from Cleveland, Ohio, who was looking forward to her senior year at Success Tech Academy, a school known for its technology-driven curriculum. She was active in her community, often volunteering at her local church, and worked a summer job helping children in her neighborhood. Shirellda came from a close-knit family, including her father, Van Terry, who was deeply protective and proud of his daughter. She had 3 older siblings, and her disappearance in July 2013 devastated her entire family. On July 10, 2013, Shirellda was last seen leaving her summer job at a church. Her disappearance set off a frantic search by family members and police. Her family, especially her father, Van Terry, had a close bond with her and was extremely worried when she didn't return home at that day. Michael Madison had a deeply troubled history, marked by a pattern of violence and criminal behavior. Born in East Cleveland, Madison had a criminal record that included drug charges, theft, and most notably, sexual offenses. He was convicted of attempted rape in 2001, which resulted in him being classified as a sex offender. Like many serial killers, Madison had a difficult upbringing, and there were accounts of physical and emotional abuse during his childhood. This background, according to his defense attorneys, contributed to his violent tendencies, but it did not excuse the horrific nature of his crimes. Madison's methods of selecting victims were deliberate and sinister. He preyed on unprotected women, many of them experiencing difficulties in their lives, such as homelessness or addiction. This allowed Madison to exploit their weakness as he targeted them for sexual assault and murder. The investigation onto Madison's crime began on July 19, 2013, when a strong odor of decay led police to his apartment in East Cleveland. Neighbors had reported that foul smell emanating from the area. Upon investigating, police found the body of Angela Deskins, 38, wrapped in garbage bags in a garage near Madison's apartment. This discovery prompted a further search of the area, leading to the discovery of Satisha Shile's body, also wrapped in garbage bags, in a nearby lot. Later, police found the body of Shirellda Terry in another garage close to Madison's residence. All 3 victims had been killed and their bodies discarded in the same manner. This discovery of multiple bodies in such close proximity led authorities to suspect that they were dealing with a serial killer, reminiscent of Anthony Sowell, another Cleveland-based serial killer who had seemingly targeted women and discarded their bodies in his home just a few years earlier. Once police had uncovered the bodies, the investigation turned to identify the killer. Madison was quickly arrested after police found evidence linking him to the crime scenes, including forensic evidence such as DNA. Additionally, video surveillance and witness tied Madison to the areas where the women's bodies were discovered. Madison's background as a registered sex offender also raised immediate red flags for the authorities, prompting his swift arrest. Upon questioning, Madison reportedly showed little remorse for his actions.
You went on to abuse the corpses of these 3 victims. You stripped them from the waist down. You folded them in half, binding them so that their feet were up by their ears. You wrapped them in multiple layers of trash bags.
Police believed that Madison had killed the woman over a period of several months, luring them into dangerous situations before murdering them. The exact methods of murder were not always clear, but the autopsies revealed signs of strangulation and other form of blunt force trauma. The forensic evidence in the case was overwhelming. DNA evidence linked Madison directly to the crime scenes, and the discovery of the bodies, all wrapped in garbage bags, indicated a distinct pattern in the disposal of the victims. The garbage bags became one of the Madison's trademarks, as he used them to discard his victims' bodies in isolated areas near his apartment. This pattern, combined with forensic analysis of the crime scenes and witness testimony, sealed Madison's fate during the trial. During the trial in 2016, Michael Madison was convicted of multiple charges, including aggravated murder, kidnapping, and gross abuse of a corpse. His trial grabbed significant media attention, not only because of his brutal nature of the crimes, but also due to the families of the victims being given the opportunity to confront Madison during their sentencing phase. It was during this time that Van Terry, Shirellda Terry's father, took the stand to deliver a victim impact statement. As he spoke about the loss of his daughter and the impact on his family, he noticed Madison smirking. This lack of remorse infuriated Van Terry, and in a moment of emotional anguish, he launched at Madison, attempting to physically confront him. Court security quickly restrained Terry, preventing the situation from escalating further. But the incident became one of the most iconic moments of the trial, symbolizing the deep pain and anger felt by the victims' families. Michael Madison was sentenced to death for his crimes. The jury found his actions to be particularly heinous, and the judge agreed. In 2020, the Ohio Supreme Court upheld Madison's death sentence, rejecting his defense team's arguments for leniency based on his troubled past. Madison remains on death row, awaiting the resolution of his final appeals. Jamila Smith was born to Jasmine Gordon, whose name was not disclosed in court documents. The couple eventually separated, though the exact reasons for their separation were not detailed in legal records. Reports indicate that Jasmine had a difficult relationship with Jamila's biological father, possibly contributing to the eventual breakdown of their relationship. After separating from Jamila's biological father, Jasmine Gordon began living with Clifford Thomas. This change in living arrangements occurred approximately 3 months before Jamila's death. In the summer of 2014, Thomas, who had no prior legal relationship with the child, became responsible for caring for both Jamila and her other siblings while Gordon was working. After moving with Thomas, Gordon began working, leaving her children in Thomas' care. During this period, family members and others close to Gordon did not report seeing any outward signs of abuse, although court testimony later highlighted incidents of concerning behavior between Thomas and the children. The prosecutions argued that Gordon's decision to leave her children with Thomas, despite warning signs, showed negligence on her part, and this was a key point in her eventual conviction for child abuse. On September 18, 2014, Clifford Thomas called Gordon, reporting that Jamila appeared unwell. They rushed the child to Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit, where she was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. An autopsy conducted on Jamila revealed significant injuries, including a lacerated pancreas, internal bleeding in the abdomen, and pneumonia. Dr. Francisco Keisha, the prosecution's forensic pathologist, testified that the blunt force trauma to the abdomen was the result of child abuse. He believed that the trauma caused internal bleeding, which triggered an infection that eventually led to pneumonia and death. He also found additional bruising and head injuries, further indicating abuse. Jamila's injuries were inconsistent with accidental trauma. For example, Dr. Keisha noted that pancreatic lacerations were rarely seen in children except in cases involving significant force, such as car accidents. The medical evidence did not support Thomas' explanation that Jamila might have been injured during play. Thomas was charged with second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, child abuse, and resisting arrest. The court concluded that while Thomas did not intentionally kill Jamila, his negligence and actions caused her death. Jasmine Gordon was also charged with second-degree child abuse and involuntary manslaughter, as prosecutors argued that she failed to protect her daughter by leaving her in Thomas' care. Despite the signs of potential abuse, Gordon was initially convicted, but her conviction was overturned on appeal in 2017. The appeals court ruled that Gordon's attorney had failed to provide an adequate defense, as he did not call Dr. Jovica Dragovic, a forensic pathologist who would have testified that Jamila's death was due to pneumonia unrelated to trauma. This expert could have bolstered the defense argument that Jamila's medical conditions, such as her pre-existing brain malformation without abuse being a factor. One of the central issues in the case was the disagreement between medical experts. Dr. Kesha, who conducted the autopsy, concluded that Jamila died from complications of blunt force trauma which caused sepsis and pneumonia. However, Dr. Dragovic, the defense expert, disagreed. He argued that Jamila's death was caused solely by pneumonia and that the blunt force trauma to her pancreas was incidental, possibly the result of an accident during play. He also criticized the autopsy process, arguing that certain tests like tissue sampling for bruises were not conducted properly. The case took an emotional toll on the families involved. During Thomas' sentencing,
had several impacts all over her head. In fact, there was hemorrhaging between the scalp and the bones of this child.
Jamila's biological father, devastated by the loss of his daughter, physically attacked Thomas in the courtroom. This attack was a climax of the emotional tension surrounding the case and underscored the deep grief experienced by Jamila's family.
911, what is the address for your emergency?
I found a dead body. Somebody threw a bag like on the edge of the bridge, and my curiosity got the best of me. So I got up there and knocked it down, and it was heavy. It hit the ground. It's like a body bag.
Nylo Lattimore was a 19-year-old mother raising her son, Nylo, a bright and joyful 3-year-old child. Not much has been widely reported about Nylo's biological father, but Nytisha had been dating Dijon Brown, a relationship that eventually turned violent. There were no previous public indications of abuse or trouble between the couple before the murder occurred. Family members described Nylo Lattimore was a happy, energetic kid. He was well loved and cherished by his family, making his disappearance and subsequent death all the more heart-wrenching. In December 2020, Nylo Lattimore was murdered by Dijon Brown in her Cincinnati apartment. Investigators revealed that Brown killed her with a knife in a deliberate attack. He reportedly planned her murder for months. After discovering that Nylo had allegedly miscarried his child earlier that year, Brown became furious over this perceived loss, which motivated him to seek revenge. After killing Nylo, Brown disposed of her body by placing it in a suitcase and dumping it near the Ohio River. Her body was found on December 12, 2020, near the Purple People Bridge in Cincinnati. Following Nylo's murder, her son Nylo was also missing. Surveillance footage captured Brown pushing Nylo's stroller near the Ohio River shortly after Nylo's death. Investigators believe that Brown threw the toddler into the river, possibly while he was still alive. The extensive search for Nylo's body involved both police and volunteers, but tragically, his body has never been found. Only his stroller and a Paw Patrol blanket were found along the river bank. Brown was charged with Nylo's murder based on the circumstantial evidence that he had disposed of Nylo in the same river where Nylo's body was found. Prosecutors argued that Brown carefully planned Nylo's murder due to his anger over the miscarriage. Evidence suggested that Brown's actions were pre-planned, as he had allegedly researched how to kill someone months before the attack. After killing Nylo, Brown heartlessly disposed of her body and then and moved on to kill Nylo, likely to eliminate any witness and further punish Nytisha. Brown's actions, dumping both Nytisha's and Nylo's bodies in the river, were viewed as calculated and deliberate attempts to hide the evidence. The discovery of Nylo's trawler and blanket near the river confirmed suspicions that Brown had thrown the boy into the river. Deshaun Brown was charged with multiple counts, including 2 counts of aggravated murder, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of a corpse. Brown pleaded no guilty to the charges, and his defense team has argued his case through various pre-trial motions. The case has drawn widespread attention due to its brutality, the young age of Nylo, and the fact that his body was never found, deepening the emotional toll on the community and the Lattimore family. During one of the court proceedings, Nylo's biological father, Antonio, attacked Brown in the courtroom, demonstrating the intense grief and frustration felt by the family. As of 2024, Deshaun Brown remains in custody awaiting trial, where he faces the possibility of life in prison without parole if convicted. The tragic case of Deshaun Brown involves the murder of Nylo Lattimore, a 3-year-old boy, and his mother, Nytisha Lattimore, which shocked the Cincinnati community in December 2020. The case unfolded with several disturbing facts and has been emotionally devastating for both families involved.